Hello and welcome back to the Information Command Center here at the studios of the Government Information Service National Television Network. I am Lisa Joseph, as always alongside me is Primus Hutchinson, and we will be having a discussion, a very in-depth discussion with the Chief Executive Officer of Export St. Lucia, that is Ms. Sunita Daniel. We want to go straight away and say good day to Ms. Daniel. Thank you so much for coming in. I know we are neighbors, if you will, the up and our upstairs neighbor, and but we don't see enough of each other at all. But for Export St. Lucia, it's the agency responsible for taking everything St. Lucia to the international market. I just want, for those who are not too familiar with Export St. Lucia, previously it was called Tipper, which I still refer to it as Tipper, by the way. So give us an idea with the sort of name change, you had the change of your logo, all of that change. What is the renewed mandate, if there was one, for Export St. Lucia?
Thank you, Lisa, for having us, and we really appreciate this forum to really let the St. Lucian public know about Export St. Lucia. You're correct, we were Tipper before, which was really responsible at the time for ensuring that the exporters still had this environment to be able to export their goods and services. We recently had a name change to Export St. Lucia, basically for a few reasons. One, you'd see that the government has now moved towards a brand St. Lucia positioning. So there are certain statutory agencies, certain agencies that represent St. Lucia outside of St. Lucia a lot. So you're talking about CIP, Invest St. Lucia, Export St. Lucia, the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. So there has been a rebranding of all of those agencies, and you would see it with the Let Her Inspire You logo. So that was one of the reasons that we have all now come under one umbrella. The other reason is really to put a lot more focus on what Export St. Lucia is doing. People most times would say Tipper. What's Tipper? You can't really say what Tipper is. With Export St. Lucia, you get an idea of what really the agency is responsible for, what our mandate is responsible for, which is export. That's the core of our business. So the name change is very important for us and something that our board really pushed towards having, because it gave a little more meaning to what the agency did than what Tipper did. So we've basically we still do everything Tipper has done, but what we're doing is doing a little more focus on export of goods and services, of St. Lucian goods and products.
So you are responsible there for the branding, the look, making sure that everything is in the same alignment, so that you can give St. Lucia its unique feel and look.
Right.
What exactly is that? What does it mean to be marketing, branding a St. Lucian product?
Right. Product and service. So
services as well.
Also, yes. One of the things we've looked at is you compete on an international scale outside there, and you need to have something which is really distinct to your country to be able to be recognized. For example, you'd go outside, and we've seen it a lot, you recognize what are Trinidadian products. Jamaica, you know all Jamaican products. What we found happening with St. Lucian products is that they kind of melted into all other products with other smaller countries. So larger countries have really differentiated their look and their feel, and we felt that so it's something St. Lucia should do, because our products and our services are of a world-class standard, and there needed to be something that we had to do to differentiate our product. So because of that, Cabinet recently approved a logo that would be called the Taste of St. Lucia, that will be affixed on products which are of a certain quality and a certain standard coming from St. Lucia. That, and also our ability to leverage the reach of other agencies. For example, Export St. Lucia would go out on missions. Invest St. Lucia goes out on missions. St. Lucia Tourism Authority. When all of us have a similar branding, it's easy for each of us to take with us a little bit bit of Invest St. Lucia, for example. What is St. Lucia doing? St. Lucia Tourism Authority. So all of the paraphernalia is the same. The branding is the same. The picture is the same. So if somebody goes to a tourism, for example, expo, they would see St. Lucia and recognize, let her inspire you. When we go to a trade mission, it's already in their minds that they've recognized that brand before. So it becomes very easy for us to leverage the competencies and the strengths of each other when we go out into the international market. So we thought it was really an excellent move, and it's something that has really been working for us. Very recently, we've gone out on joint missions. So for example, Export St. Lucia would have accompanied the St. Lucia Tourism Authority outside of St. Lucia to do joint missions. And so while they're promoting the tourism product, we're also showing what products St. Lucia has. So this has worked really well for us.
So how well? Because have you done an assessment as to how the market has responded to the rebranding? We've
not done a formal assessment, but you do get the feedback. For example, we were in London at a trade show promoting St. Lucian rum products, and the majority of persons who came by, and there were thousands of persons, and they would say, oh, St. Lucia, I know that brand. I know St. Lucia. I know Peter Bay, for example, that they would say, and we didn't even have Peter Bay with us. So it shows you that from having come to St. Lucia, the tourist has now in their mind attributed a certain quality to St. Lucia, and they recognize the brand already. So before they come to our booth, what they already see is the branding, and they're already able to make that association. So we then have a starting point where we can have a discussion with them. Yes, you've been to St. Lucia about the sand, sea, and everything else you've enjoyed, but do you know about this excellent pepper? Do you know about the rums? And they all know about, they tell us about the Peter Bay, I love that bay, and that kind of thing. So just from informal feedback, we're seeing that it's really working already.
All right, we'll take a little pause and say hello to Primus.
Hi, Ms. Daniel.
Hi.
Before we went on air, I think you were a bit concerned about handling the Creole language. So I'll not strongly challenge you.
Please don't.
Okay, Monsieur, Madame, nous, Madame, Amsel, Sunita, Daniel, qui directement c'est go grec là qui est comme ça pour export St. Lucia. Ça veut dire produire cette ici, avec mon aïe qui présente ça à l'autre pays. Moi, Madame, Amsel, Daniel, comment ça a marché? Comment ça, est-ce que est satisfait que cette lycéen car supporter export St. Lucia à façon pour aider au manière ça là?
We Primus no really satisfied Sanukawe there were lenu parle about lenu ali there was cette lycée no ali Amerique for example tout moun hasav about cette lycée nous ka parle about diaspora moun tellement plaisir pour atouer ek vindi oui ça c'est comment sorti cette lycée ek cette lycée ni qualité produit ça so ici en bas nous really ka hen a shy aboissement le nous quitter cette lycée avec aller dewa nous ka we a shy touriste ka vindi nous oui moi aller cette lycée ek moi connaître cette lycée ça c'est une belle place qui ça occasionné c'est ça nous ka dit nous ni plus passer hôtel nous ni plus passer la mer nous ni bon produit nous ni bon warm, bon la bière, toutes ces bails ça, piment, par exemple. So toutes ces bails ça, nous ka try di moun, cette ici pas yon ba yon yoni, cette ici nous ni a shy lot bagay à cette ici.
Bon bagay ou mentionné piment, moi devrais demander question sur produits agricoles. Est-ce que Export St. Lucia ka assister? Nous sommes un shy farmer. Avec l'autre monde qui a fait du travail à cette commune. Est-ce que ces gens, ces femmes, qui ont produit ces divers est-ce qu'ils peuvent l'avantage ça Export St. Lucia Cabayo?
Export St. Lucia a fait un chai travail avec les femmes. Dès l'année, nous avons really mais un chai attention à ces femmes. Nous avons fait un chai travail avec eux. Nous allons voir un chai moun veut produire cette ici. Okay, si pour tant moun ka model play about agricole passer en chai l'autre bagay oui so you kay model pour boire pain les nous aller Amérique yo really aimé boire cette ici. So you can do nouveler un container boire cette ici, et ça qu'a fait bien. Yo really aimé toutes ces lots bail la nous ni. Donc a fait 6 mois actuellement. Tout le monde aimé 6 mois cette ici. So pour nous, si nous pour nous ça moun ka really mad about la quitter cette liste avec aller there, c'est about agricole.
Wow.
Produit agricole.
C'est seulement ça, oui, je Caraïbe là, seulement notre cas vend by agricole.
Non, nous aller en Amérique, l'Angleterre, tout partout, oui, by agricole.
Ça bon, ça bon, ça nous mettons ça, Lisa.
Merci appeal la Prima. So I wanted to bit before we get into the specifics of the different products and services that you would be handling. You mentioned earlier the sort of product recognition from persons within the marketplace. How do we now begin, apart from perhaps ramping up the advertising and so forth, in terms of maintaining that through quality? How is the Export St. Lucia working with our export manufacturers, service providers in that respect?
We work a lot with our partners. So Export St. Lucia does not do a lot of things on our own. There are competencies which already exist internally, so we work with them. So for example, we work very closely with the St. Lucia Manufacturers Association. We work very closely with the St. Lucia Coalition of Services. We work with the Ministry of Commerce, SEDU. What we have a kind of system where people graduate towards an export market. So for example, when a business is very small or just beginning, if they come to Export St. Lucia, for example, and say, I have a business idea and I'd like to take something out, we're not the ones who should be dealing with that. So we redirect persons to go to SEDU, for example, the SBDC, where they really help them with the business name, the business registration, with the setting up of the business really. And we all share a common IT platform. So we all know who are the clients in that stream. And when SEDU has done what they have to do with those clients, they then graduate to Export St. Lucia. And from there, Export St. Lucia would then look at what are their needs. So for example, if they need labeling, assistance, packaging assistance. We then liaise with the Bureau of Standards to look at what their limitation is. We do a lot of work in gap analysis. We know what the ultimate aim is, what the end result is that we want. We want to take you to the export market. What is preventing you from getting to that export market? And we work on those areas. So if, for example, we know you need to access Matnik, you need to have everything in French and English. We also help with the translation of your labels in French so that you can access the Matnik market. So we do a lot of capacity building. Many times we have to do testing to prove that what the product, but we're saying the product actually has, so we pay for those testing capabilities for example, our soap manufacturers, some of our products, when we say a nutritional quality is in there, we need to prove that it's in there. So Export St. Lucia really does that through the government of St. Lucia. Export St. Lucia is completely funded by the government of St. Lucia, and people don't pay for those services. So for us, that is very critical that persons know this service is available. For now, it's free, because the demand is really getting increasingly higher for us, for persons to do. But what we do is a lot of training and capacity building, and where it calls for us to do some more direct interventions, we would. For example, we've paid ourselves for packaging, to change packaging. For example, if the market says to you, your package is plastic, we don't want plastic, we want paper. We've paid for those paper products to make sure that the paper packaging, to make sure that the product is able to enter the market. So Export St. Lucia really provides a lot of those services in terms of building capacity and addressing gaps for our businesses.
When you have identified that product for it to go into the market, in terms of who dictates what happens in the marketplace? So I think sometimes solutions believe that you have the good, you slap on the label, you put it in a package, and then you send it. It must sell. But in terms of to access the market now, how does Export St. Lucia do that, and who really determines the entry into that market?
At the end of the day, the final powerful agent is the consumer, the end consumer. So we do a lot of work. People don't understand how much it really entails to gain access into some markets. And the bigger the market, the more difficult it is to do. So a lot of what we do, for example, first of all, there must be demand for that product. Export St. Lucia has taken a different slant towards already working with what demand is already there. But what we've done is to also look at creating demand in those markets for what we have. So a lot of people may not know what St. Lucia has to offer. So we go out and we create that demand by educating them on what is there, what is it good for, why is it good for you, why you should consume that. And many of those things people had never heard of before, but then we create that demand and they want it. And CMOS would be another example of that. Not really popular back then, but we created that demand in the international markets. However, for traditional markets, there are certain things that people must do. You must adhere to certain standards for some markets. For example, the Canadian market, for you to enter with your agricultural products, you must have some levels of GAP certification. It's not the same for every market. So what Export St. Lucia does is we look at the market that you want and we find out what it is that you require to be able to enter that market. Then we go further and we go into that market and we try to get the distributors for the products, we get the partners for those products so that we have somebody who could then distribute the goods internally because we can't do it over there. So we have a lot of business meetings, we meet a lot of distributors, we meet with government agencies. For example, St. Lucia has had an interest in exporting mangoes to the US. But the demand is there, tremendous demand for mangoes and golden apples, which they call Julie plums. And St. Lucia is unable to do that. So when we got there, no, St. Lucia, we can't allow you to send mangoes to the US. So what we did was find out why that was. And they told us what the difficulties were. So we came back on island and we spoke with the Ministry of Agriculture and we said these are the things which need to be addressed so that your farmers can now access the market, and they've started working on those things which would allow us to have access to those markets. So we do a lot of market intelligence work from our offices, but we also have missions that go in on the ground. So we look at competitors' prices. So we can tell somebody, if you want to send this hand sanitizer to the US, who is your closest competitor? What are their prices, how you should price your product, what you're missing to do it if it needs to be a little more attractive. So we do a lot of work for those companies in the international markets.
Are you able to share with us some of the things that we needed to do in order to be able to have our mangoes sold on the US market?
Okay, they're concerned about a particular fruit fly for mangoes, which is why St. Lucia was taken off the list of countries allowed to go in. So the USDA has told us that we need to do a certain process called irradiation that we have started to look at. The thing is, though, that you need to make sure that that process is something that St. Lucia agrees to also doing. So it's a lot of diplomacy, a lot of talking through what the issues are, and we've started doing that and educating people also about what that process is. It's also not very cheap to do. So it's a very expensive undertaking. But it's something when you do a cost-benefit analysis, you would realize that it makes a lot of sense to do. So the Ministry of Agriculture has been working with the USDA, and the USDA does have some technical capacity assistance to help us do that. And so they're helping us to be able to access the US market. It's not very easy, but it's been done before. Jamaica did it recently. So it's something that St. Lucia, we're quite comfortable in thinking that it's something we would be able to do because the demand for the product exists in that market.
Before Primus comes in, you tell us about, so we have the mangoes, we have the sea moss. What other produce big for us on in the international market?
Breadfruit.
Regional as well, huh?
Yes, yes. Breadfruit, the regional market is very important for us. Bananas are still very important. I think we should never give up on bananas. Bananas, plantains, when I'm speaking about agriculture, bananas, plantains, breadfruit. People look a lot more towards rum. The rums, St. Lucia Distillers is doing an excellent job with the rums. We recently, about 2 years ago, partnered with St. Lucia Distillers in launching the Bounty line in the UK, and that's done very well. The CMOS is the one that the demand is really, really huge out there in the international market, and something that we're really trying to build a lot more. We see quite a lot of potential there. So avocados. The usual, everything that we consume here is demanded out there. And it's not only like the US and Canada and the UK, but also our northern partners. So St. Kitts, Antigua, the USVI, the British Virgin, all these countries always want what St. Lucia has to offer in terms of agricultural products. And so our job really is to make sure that these get done. I can tell you that for the USA, for example, there is never enough breadfruit that we could send to them. The demand is great. Our price is higher, but yet still our product gets sold a lot faster than others. And it's because of the quality, the kind of breadfruit we have, which is a little yellow inside, that the market prefers. So what Export St. Lucia now has to do is to look at how we can cut the cost of transporting that product to the market that we want, so that the final consumer can get a lower price, but then our farmers can sell a lot more.
As well. So now I know why I can't get any breadfruit, and I need it because all of it is going out, which is a good thing, but all is going out. We're due for a short break. When we come back, we'll be continuing the discussion with the Chief Executive Officer of Export St. Lucia, Sunita Daniel.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are a no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Ok, merci, bienvenue encore sur programme nous après-midi là, Information Command Center, ça c'est place qui a apporté information, particulièrement à nous adresser situation Covid ici avec nous et puis nous Export St. Lucia, ça c'est Mademoiselle Sunita Daniel qui a parlé tellement bien, il dit que là qu'a battu mais moi il fait tellement bien tout à l'heure là. Alors l'autre question moi sûr il a fait assez bien. Ça moi je voulais savoir Mademoiselle Daniel, c'est nous parler de produits agricoles et nous savons majorité produits agricoles qui sortent habitation en ces communes. À part de ces produits agricoles là qui pile mon ami dans les autres pays là, est-ce que Export St. Lucia est-ce que cette commune a trouvé l'autre bénéfice à part de produits agricoles, est-ce que là l'autre ça y a fait qui Export St. Lucia a aidé à ça?
Oui, merci Primus. C'est ti commune là ni un chay bénéfice là-bas et nous really nous pour garder ça yoni à part de agricole tout le monde connaît ces produits agricoles qu'a fait commune ko choisi yoni craft yoni c'est artiste là qui a fait ces paintings là yoni achat service nous ka parler about village ko denri qui ni denri segment. So
Ouais.
Export Saint Lucia ka travail et puis c'est denri segment musician là pour aider yo hen contract de ou cette ici. So nous te ka aider yo faire musique à quoi dit musique c'est un business. Ça c'est un business ou ça fait chay l'argent dedans. Et ça Export Saint Lucia te ha fait c'est mener moun qui a chay knowledge about ça market la brisé en Miami et Canada. Pour yo savent comment y pour faire business music aussi. So nous aider avec ça et moun ça nous demande yo pour acheter un contract by ces musiciens ça et yo fait ça et nous teni musiciens dernier segment qui performer Miami Carnaval par exemple. Okay. So pour nous là ni acheter l'autre bagay c'est commune là nous ka parler about ti commune ko parler qui ni ek ti commune opicon qui ni Simos ka fait acheter craft café. Nous c'est just near mission there were a Grenada ex Vincent ek nous te mené aussi jeune homme qui a fait craft ek a chay moun te aimé craft la yo te wear so c'est hotel la te atewese again c'est craft ça la from c'est moun sa qui a sorti c'est petit commune ça so pour nous a chay ça Export Saint Lucia ka travailler puis c'est pas seulement go business c'est aussi ti business et c'est ti commune là aussi.
Ah ok. Une question que tu as dit la transportation avion qui qualité ça a posé pièce de challenge pièce pour servir avion puis ça va coûter acheter l'argent.
Ça c'est plus difficile là nous ni. Pour ou pas te kay quoi moi si moi do pour ti mener produit ça sorti cette ici pour mener Antigua c'est un gros problème ba nous il plié pour nous point produit ça avec mener Miami puis l'année c'est transportation ça là qui a mené là from cette ici pour Miami mais pour aller dans ces petits OECS countries là ça c'est réel problème là nous ni so ça c'est un autre bagage Export Saint Lucia qui travaille à ça garder qui moun qui ni ti bâtiment qui moun qui ni ti l'autre cargo plane nous ça parler et puis make sure là tous les semaines yo ni un jour yo ka point produit cette ici et mener article par exemple nous teni exemple ko article te brisé figue et il était tellement difficile pour hen tirer figue ça cette ici mener article dans sufficient time pour yo faire service à dans hôtel là il était plié pour yo gagner Amérique mener article et mais cette licini so pour nous c'est really ça c'est really a challenge nous ni à cette lici pour nous really mener ces produits ça from cette lici pour OECS
mais liat moi penser Caribbean Airlines.
Liat ka porter ces bagages là mais liat pas assez capacity.
Ah.
So oui, so nous besoin bagages qui ça mène chebe en chay. Liat ka aider nous et puis c'est deux trois bagages là mais nous besoin bâtiment really pour mener. Puis c'est pas ça mener comme boîte figue à sous liat. Les moun bouze container fig.
Okay. All right.
It's a bit of very difficult there. I want to talk to you about, you mentioned earlier the missions and in this COVID time, give us an understanding as to how Export St. Lucia is managing because you need to be hands-on in order for you to be able to, you know, in a bustling environment, in order for you to be able to give that assistance to the exporters, and as well as the demand, you know, has to be there as well. So with COVID-19, we've seen the demand decelerating in every sector. So how is Export St. Lucia maintaining its presence in order for us not to be forgotten as things will re-emerge following COVID?
That's a great question, and for us, we've had some pros and cons through COVID. We always try to look on the brighter side and try to look for opportunities in everything, and in every difficulty, there's an opportunity. And for us, that's what we've been focusing on. Actually, demand has risen for some products we've found in the external markets. What has really worked for us is that SLASPA has kept the ports for cargo open, so we're able to get products out of St. Lucia. Some of the difficulties may be where the borders are closed in some other countries, so we have to know where that is happening so that we can inform our exporters that they won't be able to export to that country at a particular time. But we've had some recent successes with exporting. I could tell you that for CMOS again, and you'll hear CMOS a lot in this interview, the demand has actually increased far beyond what we can supply to the external market. One of the things that people have known is that CMOS is really an immune builder. And so even in the USA, for example, particularly in the USA, it seems that the consumer there seems to think that CMOS is really good for COVID-19. And so that has really built up the demand that's coming out. So daily we get requests from our distributors and from new persons seeking to buy CMOS. We also had a recent intervention where we took 14 businesses to St. Vincent and Grenada, and one of our manufacturers, Tolin Manufacturing, who makes a superior product, a great product, toilet paper. And you know that toilet paper has been selling out everywhere. And Tolin recently, yesterday, shipped a 40-foot container of their paper products. And all of that came from really Export St. Lucia's intervention of going into the market and ensuring that people know the product that St. Lucia has to offer. What we've done is a lot of market intelligence. So we work a lot on intelligence, we work a lot on data, we work a lot on making sure we have information because we don't go into the markets blindly. So we already know, and we have partners on the ground. For example, we work with Invest SVG, who would have assisted us in getting the distributors and the partners and the businesses on the ground in St. Vincent to be able to do these things. So coming out of that mission, we got a lot of demand and a lot of expressions of interest for St. Lucian products. A lot of that had been halted because of COVID-19. Businesses closed over there, we had a shutdown and so on, so a lot of that. But we really believe that as soon as things start back, we should be able to move off running. But Export St. Lucia has not stopped working. We've continued working all along, so we keep in touch with our distributors in the external markets. A lot of them, like everything else, they're businessmen. Businessmen work throughout, whether it's Corona, COVID, they are the most resilient people that you'd find. And so we've kept in touch with them. They've been telling us what they need. I can tell you that we're trying to work with the St. Lucia Marketing Board at the moment to see if we can fulfill some orders to the Northern Caribbean for agricultural products from St. Lucia. So we're not out of the loop. We still know what everybody wants. We've continued shipping out of St. Lucia. A young lady who is our client is going to be shipping some products, some skincare products to the US this week.
I was just about to ask you about the health and wellness sector.
Yes, health and wellness. And all of that is still happening now. So exports, although we saw a trend of exports increasing, actually from January to March, exports of 2020, exports had already surpassed 2018 in 2019, January to March, for that same period. So we had anticipated a bumper year for exports this year, but COVID kind of came in and mixed the picture a bit. But we anticipate that as soon as things settle, that we can get right back, because we have not lost touch at all with our partners in the external markets.
And so you mentioned the health and wellness there, skincare. I know that St. Lucia, we have a number of skincare lines that have come on stream. Natural hair products are coming on stream. Yeah. So how much of an impact are we making out there regionally, internationally with that? And with such strict restrictions, how are we being able to maneuver? Because I know we don't have all of those the labs and all of those things. So we, on the international scale of things, we're probably still a cottage industry.
Right.
But we're getting there. So how are you navigating those waters out there to really give that assistance to our health and wellness?
I think one of the things we've done is to really position St. Lucian health and wellness products as a niche kind of market and niche products. The thing is, we have certain specific characteristics that other people don't have. Most of our products would probably talk about the sulfur from the sulfur springs, a lot of more natural products. And so these are the characteristics that we really sell to the outside world. Our products are doing quite well though. So NatMed, for example, is doing very well on the external market. When we go out, people frequently ask us about the NatMed products. But we also have smaller persons who are really coming into that, and you spoke very correctly about the skin products. So we have Kakosetlisi, who does the chocolates, the smaller chocolates, but they do all other things. We have a young lady who does some of her skincare products and natural hair care products. The difficulty, like you rightly said, is with the lab testing capabilities. So when we went into the US market, we were asking about the ability of a Frances rub, for example, to be able to access the market. And what we were told is the testing that needs to be done, that you need to prove a lot of what you're saying that this product can do. Now, we all know Frances Rub is an excellent product. We've recently got Frances Rub into the Dominican market, and so it's now on the shelves in Dominica. But that's because we all have that similar culture, and so it would do well in Dominica and in Martinique. How do we take that product and translate that into a US product? It's a little more difficult because you need to be able to prove a lot of what's in the product. What we're saying that the product can do, that it really can do. So that one we're working on with Frances to get done. We think that product has a lot of potential. But we also expose other products through our trade shows. And for us, it's still about testing. So what Export St. Lucia has done through a project that we're now implementing is to get some of those key products tested in EU labs, EU accredited labs, so that if that is accredited, then it's easier for them to enter there. So we've chosen some of those products now to get tested, and so when we say this product has these ingredients, it really has those ingredients. So those are just some of the things we're doing, but you're correct, it's a little more difficult to do, but it's really about niche marketing and making sure that everything is, it's how we market the product. We would not be able to make thousands and thousands to put on the shelves, but we should be able to get a niche market of, if it's African persons from the diaspora, people who are familiar, to get those products. What happens is that when you even get one contract from the USA, that's sufficient to begin the business here and to help the business have a capital injection here. And that allows them now to be able to get the testing done and to expand production. So for us, that's the little things that we're looking on addressing, so that when these people are able to get one contract, once they reinvest into the business, they're able to now expand their own capacity and move on and don't really need us afterwards.
Right. I know with services, you spoke a little earlier on there with primers regarding music has been one of the things that Export St. Lucia is quite aptly taking to the world. But what are some of the other services that you are exposing the international community to? We work very closely with the St. Lucia Coalition of Services. And one of the things, our management consultants, we have some very good consultants on island, and so we've been able to help them get those contracts. You would understand that services is a little more difficult to measure because you have persons who would not be willing to tell you exactly the value of the contract that they've done. Now, we are a very transparent agency. We are completely funded by taxpayers, so we need to report to taxpayers what we're doing with every dollar that we spend. And so we try to get into agreements with our service providers and ask them to tell us what is the benefit that you've received. I can tell you one of the success stories we've had is actually with H&L, who mold remediation company.
They came to us last year and they asked, how can you help us? And we said, okay, this is interesting and new for us, but we'll help you. And so when we went out into one of our missions, we had H&L down specifically looking for business for them. And what we found was in Dominica, that they required mold remediation services. So we tied H&L with the contact at the ministry in Dominica, and H&L then reported back to us and told us they got the contract, they did the work. They had some difficulties in probably getting the equipment across. Export St. Lucia would assist them in getting that done. So whatever that is required that the business needs to be able to really make use of that first contract, we really go the extra yard to really help them get ready for it. We would not want somebody to lose a contract because you're not able to pay a fee or you're not able to pay something. So Export St. Lucia through the government does fund those kind of activities. So for H&L services, we helped them get those contracts. We also had some interest from a bank in Antigua for IT personnel. And so we were able to tie our client with that bank and they would get that contract done. What they've done is to come back and tell us, okay, the value of that contract was between that amount and that amount. So we're now able to report back to taxpayers, not exactly what the revenue was for that, but what we're doing with the money that Export St. Lucia gets. So for 2020, 2021, we'll be focusing a lot more, quite aside from the creative industries, more on our service providers to see what else we could do, how else we could help them get work outside of St. Lucia.
Right. In our remaining moments, time goes by pretty quickly. Yes. Post-COVID, we know that we've definitely travel, that's going to be a changed environment. The ability to be able to go on missions might be next to
very difficult.
So how are you going to operate in this post-COVID environment and being able to?
That's what we've been having quite a few meetings about in our office to see how we can really be a benefit still to our clients post-COVID. The important thing for us is really helping at the end of the day, Export St. Lucia exists for the people who we serve. We serve the St. Lucian public, we serve the St. Lucian business people, and it's the need that they really require. One of the things we are going to look at really strongly is looking at a digital presence for Export St. Lucia too, but also for our businesses to help them establish a digital presence. There are many digital platforms out there that they can use, and a lot of them don't use currently. So we're having a webinar in 2 weeks about how a business can make use of the digital world while trying to navigate COVID. The other thing we're trying, interestingly, is to have a virtual trade mission. So it's something new that's coming up in instead of us actually going physically into the market, we are planning to have a virtual trade mission to get the same results that we would get by being physically in the market by sitting right here in our office. So we'll be still talking to our distributors. Like I told you before, we do a lot of market intelligence. So we know who the partners are in the external market. So we make phone calls, we create that link with them, and then we have an exchange of products. We've started now to do catalogs, digital catalogs of all manufactured goods. So people can see, we have physical catalogs, but now we're translating that to digital format. So when we can send to a distributor and say, these are the ROMs that we have, these are the prices, these are the characteristics. So really building up a digital directory of our products so people can see and then make those orders. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at, and we'll be piloting the virtual trade mission for us, which is very exciting, and we should learn quite a few lessons from that.
I
don't even know how to say digital in Creole.
Si je comprends ça, Mme Daniel Kadia, c'est particulièrement parce que COVID a affecté la manière où ça fait business après ça, parce que ça a voyagé comme avant. alors qu'on peut continuer ni qualité contract ça là les connexions ça là et puis c'est mon l'autre pays c'est pratique ou l'autre pays alors avec moi ça nous dit ça côté où ça servi de manière digitale mon ça ouais sans voyager ça ouais c'est produit et ça discuter puis en même façon et que ça fait décision ça yo ka vle c'est wom qualité c'est wom là qui mën ay produit c'est différents caractères comme ça so à de façon même si il pas possible pour les officiers exporter le chat voyager comme avant business ça continue fait et ça travaille à l'avantage à moins de là c'est bien.
Udiba là très bien Primus.
Okay. All
right, so Sunita, now that we know that there is the demand for us and we know where we are at with COVID, what is the message to our producers out there, whether it be of agriculture, agro-processors, which you didn't get quite into, our service providers, our creators.
Right.
What is your message, your takeaway message to them at this time?
I think what I would like to tell them is hats off to them. I have never, and I was saying that to somebody yesterday, that I have never seen a more resilient people than the people who are our clients and the people who we deal with. How they've never say dead. They're not dead, and they look for every way to make sure that their businesses survive. And for us, it's to let them know that Export St. Lucia is here to assist them, that the same kind of value and the same kind of service that we gave to them before, that we're still available to give to them, and to let them know that out of every difficulty, there's always some opportunity, and there are many opportunities we've found through COVID-19. And that's one of the things Export St. Lucia will also be sharing and has been sharing with our clients. Where are the opportunities so that they could now move in that direction? So we've actually made those linkages for them and told them, these are the products that people require now. You should be now exporting those products. And they've responded, and they've been doing that. So basically to let them know that we're here and we're willing and able to continue supporting them, and that when all of this is over, it will be all for the better. I really think that we had seen an upward trend for exports, which got interrupted a bit, but that shouldn't deter us. I really think it will make us a lot better and a lot stronger when we come out there. We're now trademarking a St. Lucia brand. And so by the time all of this corona is over, we'll have a trademarked brand for St. Lucian goods and products that we're really excited to share with them. So there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of things still happening that I'm sure as they do, hang in there, that we're all going to come out of this for the better.
And the trademarking is important.
Yes, very important.
It's a security feature.
It's a security feature, right? Because everybody now once we saw St. Lucia CMOS made in China online, and so now we have to go out and protect the St. Lucia CMOS brand.
No, we can't have that. No. Made in China. No, we understand that they're the mass producers of everything.
Yes, but nobody can really get the specific characteristics. There are things which are intrinsic to us. There are things that nobody can do as well as we do. So that's what we're really using as our leverage, that a lot of things, nobody can really come and duplicate what's happening in Poale and our mangrove conditions. You can't get that anywhere else.
And this is one final question. With all of the success, for example, if the CMOS and so forth that we're having, that multiplier effect, I know that for the CMOS farmers as well, within community settings, so you now have that ripple effect of the sort of domestic economy happening there, broadening out as well. So talk to us a bit about that multiplier effect and how happy you are about it.
We're elated, and I'm an agriculturist at heart and rural person at heart. So for us, it's really important, and it's really heartening to see how the CMOS producers had a pretty good grouping, but then CMOS had not been doing well, so persons had come out of the group. And when we found that market and we found those that demand for St. Lucia CMOS, Lisa, I will tell you, the response has been tremendous. You'll go into Poale and everybody's now growing CMOS. Everybody's in the sea on a Sunday. And they're very excited and they're really great people to work with. And we'll say, you have an order, and they get out and they fulfill that order. And so for us is seeing those young persons coming into CMOS production, seeing a lot of women getting employment within those communities with CMOS production. And the important thing is that all of this money, we make sure that our persons pay our CMOS producers. If it's half first, or they always get their payment right after. So there has never been an issue with payment to our producers, and it goes directly to them. So Export St. Lucia does not get a cent. Nobody gets a cent. So it's between directly from the CMOS producers and the distributor. We just make sure that the payment is made. So we monitor and we say the payment must be made by whenever, and it's done. The only difficulty we have now, and I think there's a meeting going on today to address it, is that we have a lot of predial larceny now happening of CMOS. So persons have now gone into the waters and are actually stealing a lot of what the producers sell. So that's a big difficulty for us in terms of how we manage that and how we work through that. I think one of the things Export St. Lucia has been looking at doing is encouraging the setting up of more CMOS production sites. So we're working with the Department of Fisheries to ensure that other sites can be established so that persons who steal it actually have an avenue to go and plant their own, so that everybody is able to make a living from CMOS. So we're also exploring other areas like Labrie and Choiseul, but the East Coast is really the best place to grow CMOS, and so we're looking for those areas. But I think one of the important things is the dramatic increase in revenues. So for example, CMOS would have probably been earning about $50,000 within 6 months. It was at $500,000, and that $500,000 went directly into the rural economy.
Wow.
For the first 3 months of 2020, it had already surpassed that amount of what the farmers are earning in those communities. And for us, and the demand is huge. So we're not even able to supply. So for us, it's really to work on those parts of where the weakness is, to ensure that there are more production sites, more persons from the community are getting employed, because we know we can guarantee that they'll get their payments. And so it's just with everything that you do, you'll always have some little difficulties coming out of it, but it also teaches you that it's an opportunity. So persons coming to steal our predial larceny tells us that there is a demand and that people actually want to work to get that. So we'll be setting up those production sites so that persons can get a little more employment.
Sunita, I don't know if they really want to work, if they're stealing, if they're coming to steal my CMOS.
Hopefully, I have faith in the St. Lucian public that they really want to work. So we'll give them that avenue to get employment. And then if they don't work, Lisa, I'll get back to you and say, yes, I agree.
You'll have to get back to me on that, because it's not a good thing. Now, on top of everything else, we have to tell people, please don't go steal the CMOS. People are working hard, to do that. But I'm really happy that this success story is so much bigger than what we, because again of that multiplier effect within the economy and young people coming on board. So that ensures sustainability as well. So I'm very, very happy about that. And the other thing, very, very quickly as we wrap up, agro-processing, is there a chance for us to be able to add value now to CMOS?
Definitely, and that's one of the things we're also looking at, to CMOS, to other products also, using the processing plant in Foasson and see what can be done. But definitely there are a lot of other things that can be done with CMOS. Export St. Lucia is also looking at honey and looking at epitoxins. So I think, Lisa, we may need to have another show to look at the other things that Export St. Lucia is looking at. But there is absolutely that demand for agro-processed goods. And what you find is that when you export the agro-processed goods, the country benefits a lot more because we get more of those returns than if you just export your raw products. Your raw products, you get a much lower price, and then it goes to that external market. They do the agro-processing of it, and they get all the benefits, and we're not. So I think agro-processing is another thing that we really need to look at. I had a discussion, I spoke with the Minister of Agriculture yesterday, and he brought up that important point of agro-processing and what we need to do really to ensure that we move towards agro-processing.
Well, Sunita, you are invited anytime. Please feel free, come on back. It's exciting because these are the prospects we now have to be looking at as we're going through and post COVID-19 here in St. Lucia. How can the local economy survive, be viable for us all? Thank you once again so much. You've been speaking there with Sunita Daniel. She's the Chief Executive Officer at Export St. Lucia. We do hope that the information has been valuable to you. Join us next time when Tony Nicholas will be on just about 3:30 this afternoon, where he'll be looking at youth in business. So that's going to be interesting as well. On behalf of Primus Hutchinson, I'm Lisa Joseph telling you, see you next time.